All right. Hey, P. Doug, how are you? How are you guys doing? So, so first of all, this is going to be a really fun event, and this is probably the first non-guest speaker, non-Autodesk, non-special event that actually sold out. So, so we'll probably do more one-on-one sessions just like this. I typically walk around back and forth in the middle. I'm going to tell you guys about myself, who I am, the whole nine. Totally forgot my clicker, and the battery in this one is dead. So I'm just going to be standing right here. So, all right. So we're going to get started. Welcome to our event tonight. It's our Dynamo 101, getting started with Dynamo. And tonight is going to be, it's supposed to be live streamed. It's supposed to be live streamed, it'll not, but this will be recorded. Okay, so everything that we go over today is going to be provided to you guys. It'll be posted to the Dynamo user group website. So everyone will have access to this material. If you miss anything or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Also, some other housekeeping. So if you feel the need to kind of get up, stretch, I'm only going to be kind of talking for about an hour and a half. And you know, if you want, feel free to get up and go get food in between. You're not going to distract me. If you're looking for the bathrooms, I don't know if anyone did any of this stuff yet, but bathrooms are actually down this hall. I think it's like the second or third door on your right, both men and women. All right. So with that, we are going to get started with our session. All right, cool. So, so I'm going to be your speaker today. I don't have my name up here, which would have been smart, but but my name is Uchenna Okere, and I have a background in architecture from Temple University. I worked at a bunch of firms in the city. I run a company called RevitGods, and it's a BIM consulting firm. I'll tell you about it in a little bit, but just to tell you guys a little bit about why I'm here doing this. Along with Ifri, I'm going to be helping her to co-run Dynamo user group this year. Okay, so at the event that closed out the end of last year, I thought it was really cool. Dynamo, I've always been a big fan of Dynamo, mostly because at Temple we're big fans of Rhino and we use a lot of Grasshopper. So having the opportunity to hop back into this type of programming language, I got really excited about. And I'm just a giant nerd. I like to talk about this stuff, and I like to do this stuff all the time. So, so I'm going to be helping out, and just so that you guys understand the structure of this series and how this will operate. So when I had the meeting with Ifri, because I don't know, raise your hand if you have Dynamo experience already. So a couple of you guys. All right, and raise your hand if you've never even opened up Dynamo before in your life. Awesome. So this would be great for you guys who've never opened a program in your life. If you guys are already sort of like super Dynamo experienced, some of this information may be painful, I hope not. But we're gonna be doing a series, a 101 series, and today is gonna be the start of it. So today will be Dynamo 101. Throughout the year, we'll do 102, 103, 104, okay? And because of the popularity of this event, we might bring back a 101, maybe in this fall, okay? So the idea is, when I met with Ifri at the beginning of this year, one of the goals of PDUG is to increase the literacy of Dynamo in Philadelphia, right? And you guys may not know this, but there's actually user groups just like this all over the world. So, there's user groups in Boston, New York, there are user groups all over the place. And right now in Philadelphia, I want to say the literacy level, forget Dynamo, just for Revit, is still pretty low. So we want to help people step into, number one, Revit, and then the people who already are in Revit, we want to show them how to use Dynamo and show them how they can use it in their workflow. So some of the things that we're going to teach today will be super practical. Today, there is no goal. Actually, the goal is to just help you feel confident about the program. But there's not really going to be a ton of scripts we'll be showing. So we're not really going to be here to accomplish anything. All right? We just want to help you feel comfortable. So just a couple other stuff about me. I'm going to talk about RevitGods Inc. I'm also a trained scuba diver, so I thought it was pretty random. I was going to show you a picture, but I couldn't find it. This whole presentation I made in the last 3 hours. So wish me some luck. Now, to tell you about RevitGods, like I said, my background is in architecture, and back in the day when I was working at Black Knee Hayes Architects, I always, knew Revit and the whole nine, and I was really excited. I'm sort of one of those people. I'm very anal about organization and how things operate and workflow, standards, systems, the whole nine. So I got really involved in this process. During the process, I got a bunch of companies that asked if I could just help them make some templates and the whole nine. So after a while, I just ended up transitioning, and actually one of the principals at Black & Hayes forced me to go this route to step into just straight up BIM consulting. She thought I was going to be really good at it. So we came up with this company called RevitGods. The name is not trying to be obnoxious at all. But the idea is that there's one inside of everyone. Actually, the only reason why I called this thing RevitGods is because my wife is in the tech industry, and she builds websites for her career. So she had a free website. And at the time, I was operating under Okere Design Studio, which is my last name. And she asked me if I wanted a free website. So I said, sure, let me just buy something that has the word Revit in it. And I looked up Revit Geeks, taken, Revit Nerds, taken, everything having to do with Revit taken. So I purposely thought of the most obnoxious thing that no one could have ever thought of. And RevitGods.com was available. I didn't think it was going to be the name of a business at all. I just bought it, sat on it for a year until I realized, you know what, this could probably be something. So, so what we are now, we're basically a BIM support arm for the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. So how that works, traditionally, we come into firms, we show them how to use Revit, and we create templates. We actually did that right here for L2P. And once we show them how to use Revit, we pretty much stick around for BIM project management. And nowadays, it's actually really cool. We're starting to do a lot of base building modeling. We're sort of an add-on to a lot of project teams nowadays where we're building up a remote BIM workforce. So just imagine that you're on the deadline and someone just left the company and you don't have enough help. We are actually staffing people, or are bringing your model to the cloud and staffing people who can work remotely on that project and help you get it done. And then we also manage everything else from delivering stuff to the other consultants and making sure that everything from the start to the end is fully coordinated. Okay, so that is that's kind of what we do now. All right, so it's been really changing a lot. I have a lot of fun doing this stuff. And I still have no idea. This stuff changes every year. So I'm excited about where this is going to go and about our collaboration with PDoug in the process. All right, so before I get into my information, I just want to do a couple acknowledgments. So I just want to just out loud thank L2P, which if any of you guys heard of L2 Partridge, that's what their name used to be, and they did this awesome rebranding, has this awesome office, and also, this is the first of public event I think you guys have had in this office? My knowledge. Yes. All right, so Philadelphia Dynamo Group is making a lot of waves. Thank you guys for showing up, and thank you L2P for making this happen. We really appreciate you. Also, our event sponsor, the yummy food that you're eating right now, was provided by Microsoft Resources. You can get your Autodesk licenses from anybody, but we get it from them because they're awesome and they pay for free food. So, so keep coming out, keep utilizing them. They're really awesome. And then We also want to highlight our fearless PDUG leader, Ifrit, who is, who had no idea either that she was going to start PDUG at all. She went to a whole bunch of like research conferences and Dynamo conferences and said, wow, it'd be really cool if there was a group like this in Philadelphia, and waited for a year until someone else created it. Until she figured, I'll create it. And so that's why we're here today. So Ife's been awesome. I'm gonna be helping her a lot, especially since, her year, this year particularly, is gonna be a little crazy. So let's go over the agenda. And I have a pretty basic way of delivering information. I like to keep things really third grade, all right? And, and not really for you guys, really for myself. If it's too complicated, I get lost. And I know if I'm lost, then 90% of people might be lost. So we're gonna structure this presentation today. I first wanna help you guys understand why Dynamo exists, okay? So we'll talk about why, then we'll talk about what is Dynamo, and then we'll talk about how. How do we use Dynamo? And the how, we're not gonna really, I hope, we won't spend a ton of time on the how. We'll start talking about the how, but I am telling you there is so much in the how. There's so many different applications, and as we step into Dynamo 102, 103, 104, and then we replay this thing again next year and bring in some fancy guest speakers, you guys are gonna be really awesome at the how. But the first two foundational things we need to start with is the why and the what. And if you guys understand that, then I think the almost the fear level of stepping into Dynamo and maybe utilizing it on a project will decrease. And then once that fear drops, enthusiasm increases. And once the enthusiasm increases, all of a sudden, you're working on a script late at night, posting your problems to forums, asking people for help, discovering cool, brand new solutions, and all of a sudden you're making some waves. So that's going to be the layout for today. Now, so the first thing is I just want to talk about why Dynamo exists, and the reason why Dynamo exists. And so this is the part where I'm going to hop into Revit and just show you guys some stuff. And the whole reason why Dynamo exists is because the person that created Revit, and actually a lot of these programs, if you haven't realized, Revit hasn't really changed since the dawn of time, like since it came out. It's kind of like Autodesk. It comes out with a brand new version every year. It's the same thing. They just make it black this time, or they change the buttons and they confuse everyone. And they actually charge more for that every year. All right, so that's why Microsoft is so awesome, because if they could still supply that to us, it still gets to get it. One quick announcement: if you're looking for seats, or if whoever's going to write, there's you guys are allowed to grab seats out of the conference rooms. All right, so but anyway, why Dynamo? So Revit, AutoCAD, most of these programs, they're pretty limited in their capabilities. And what Dynamo is supposed to do is supposed to allow you to basically get under the hood and create your own rules and develop some new functionality that doesn't already exist in the program. Okay, so it's an open source program. All these terms like open source and visual programming, we're going to define every single thing today. So today we're going to spend about an hour and a half, literally just going basic. All right. So why Dynamo exists? It allows you. It's a tool that is supposed to empower you and give you the control that you want to do whatever you want in this program, and you'll see how easy this is. All right. So the next question is, what is Dynamo? All right. So we know why it exists, and now we want to know what it is. Now, my first answer to this question is pretty vague. Dynamo is actually a community. All right. It's first and foremost a community. It's a community of people, and actually every scripting language, every programming software, and I'll show you in a little bit, is generally a community. It's a group of people that have come up with solutions and are sharing it back and forth with each other. And Dynamo, for the most part, is community driven. A lot of the new innovations that come out with Dynamo, come out for Dynamo, are a lot of times developed by a community. All right. So this whole software stuff is really awesome because you don't have to pay some firm millions of bucks to teach you how to use this stuff. Actually, if you just hop into the basic community of it all, the community is super supportive in allowing you to hop into this. So now, the program was originally developed by Ian Q. I can't really pronounce the name, but Ian actually, I believe, don't quote me, lives right outside of Philly. So we might have him at one of these sessions. All right. So, and it was acquired by Autodesk in 2011, so he's since moved on to other stuff. So I'm gonna hop back into this, but let me show you guys real quick, for those of you guys who haven't really opened Dynamo, and I wanna show you, answer this question a little bit better of what is Dynamo. So I have Revit 2019 open, and naturally in Revit, if I just start a brand new project, let's start our RevitGods architectural template. So most programming languages, they're pretty simple, all right? So programmers, when they develop these programs, it's almost like everything you do has data, everything is pretty much data driven. So if I go to this annotate tab in Revit and draw a detail line, what's happening in every software is as I click, the program is recording the location of where this point is, and then it's allowing me to drag this around and then click again, and it's coming up with a second set of coordinates for where the second point is, right? So in Revit, there's some pretty basic things that, you know, the code of Revit, the back end of Revit, is allowing us to do. So this is almost the difference. If anyone here know how to drive a stick shift, right? So Dynamo is kind of like driving a stick shift, right? While what we just did was pretty automatic. We hit a button, and the functions came automatically. So so I'm gonna go into Dynamo, we'll open it up, and I just want to show you what it is. Sure. All right. So we're going to come back in and talk about some of the layout of this, but let's just start a brand new script, right? And for most scripts, I'm going to pull out my cheat sheet here. That same line that I drew, I can create here in Dynamo. And what I'm going to do in a few seconds is show you guys how to drive a stick. And if in Dynamo, I want to just draw a line. So I'll hit the search option and type in line. This will give me a few options, and I want to draw a line by start point and end point. Okay, so this will give me what's called a node. All right, this node, we'll talk about it in a little bit, is pretty much a collection of lines of code that they've packaged really nicely. All right, so this gives us a node. I always like to start with the end in mind. So this is going to give me a node, and what I need is this node needs points. So I'm going to type in point, and we'll do points by coordinates. So I got one here, and as soon as I bring this up, you'll notice that a point in my space down here appeared. Whoops, there we go. All right. So this guy needs 2 points. So we'll give a starting point here. I'm going to copy, paste, and bring another point here. So these are the 2 points, the pieces of data that we're going to feed into this. And then we'll come up with so I think these guys need, so we have, again, I like to start with the end in mind, so we have a line. This line needs a point, so I like to work backwards. And these points basically need values. And so for the value, I'm going to type in number. And you can either do a basic number, like type in a legit number. I like to use the number slider. where we go back and forth and this slides a couple numbers. So either or works. So we'll do a number slider, and I'm gonna copy and paste the second one. So, and with this value being 0, we'll connect this node to the X, to the Y, to the Z. So now we have a dot, as you can see, right there. That's pretty visible. And that is showing us our dot because we got 0, 0, 0. And then we'll do a second where let's make this 10. So in the Y direction, we'll shoot that point out in 10. Now if you notice, it shot a line out all the way over there. So this is working so far. I'm in good shape. And we just want to make sure that the rest of these values, which if you notice, it shot out the line and these default values remain 0. So I connect it so that I have a little bit more flexibility. And once I've started to create my logic, we'll take my starting point, we'll connect it there, take my ending point, connect it there, and thus I've created my line. So this is the back end, right? So we've created a line, the same line that we would have drawn in Revit. If I minimize this tab, there's that line, which starts from 0, 0, 0, and then goes out about 10. We create a line. Now, it's a blue line with blue dots because we still would need to do a little bit more to this code. Where is my Dynamo? Yeah, we still need to do a little bit more to this code because now that we have the line definition, we now need to tell this line to actually create a line type and assign it to a type. Does that make sense? All right. So this is just my quick explanation of what Dynamo is. It's the back end to Revit, and you use it to create anything you want to create. Okay? So we'll talk about some really practical applications towards the end for how this works. So let's hop back into our presentation, and we'll go in here. All right. All right, so like I said, Dynamo is pretty community driven, and so when we hop into Dynamo, there's a huge community in Dynamo, and so there's a couple things that I want to go through. So when you hop into Dynamo, the main website for it is dynamobim.com. So let's actually open. Actually, I think the website is really dynamo.org, and I'll open that. If you search just Dynamo in Google, you'll get the magician. There's a magician named Dynamo, so don't get confused. So here's the website, dynamobim.org. The community that exists on Dynamo is, this is one of the first places. So any issue that you have on Dynamo actually lives right here on this forum. And as we hop back in, let's go. So we have Dynamo Forum. We also got, let's hold on, control. So I'm going to open a couple tabs here. So we got Revit Forum. Actually, Revit, the entire Revit interface, all of Dynamo, any program that you want to learn, they all live on forums. I learned Revit 100% through forums and YouTube. Okay, so everything I know about using Dynamo, and a lot of this stuff I've learned from forums. They're pretty quick, so if you post the issue that you're having, somebody's going to get back to you pretty quickly. Also, when you join the community, you have the ability to, if you figure something out, you can respond back to someone else's problem. And when you go into Google or any search engine and type in whatever issue that you're having, just put as many words as possible. 9 times out of 10, you're going to start to find some type of a solution, something that solves whatever you're working on. Okay. Now, a couple other things that I want to show you guys. So there's a website called Github. Let's open that. In GitHub, on GitHub, this is where Dynamo is being worked on, or this is where basically the code for Dynamo gets posted. So here's sort of a fun fact, right? So like I said, Dynamo is an open source program. And GitHub, this repository, is basically a place for programmers. And all code that is made on Dynamo is posted to this website. Okay, so you have access to this, to the code of Dynamo. You can, if there's issues with Dynamo, on this website is where you're actually going to report the issues, and this is where they get back to you. So GitHub is awesome because this is where all the code is posted. You can go back and forth. All right, now some of the other things that are really important to know, just in terms of Dynamo, and like I said, I just want to start super basic, right? Because you know, the thing with open source is like this term that's used all the time. And open source, most things on the internet is open source. Actually, fun fact, internet turned 30, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, right? So, but most things are open source. So Facebook is open source, Twitter and Instagram, they're all open source, which means that the code that they use to develop a lot of these programs, you can grab that code and replicate the same thing. Actually, if you go to any website, so let me take this Dynamo BIM, I'm going to mess with it for a little bit. And if you go to any website and you just right click, is it going to let me do it here? Probably not. Okay, let's do this in Chrome. Chrome lets you do it. All right. All right, cool. So if we go to Chrome and I right click on any web page, you know, you guys are pretty familiar with back, reload, forward, save, print. But at the bottom, these two buttons here are for developers or anyone who just understands what this means. If you hit this inspect button, you actually pull up the entire code for the website. And every website is pretty much like this. You can mess with just about any website you want. So if I get rid of the background image, I can do stuff like that. Just really cool stuff. If your eyes are hurting, you can start to change sizes and say, hey, I want to float this by 40% actually, and we're gonna make this go right instead. You can start to, on the fly, change websites. Every website, everything, most things on the internet are pretty open source. It's open for people to mess with, play with, and develop new things for themselves, okay? And the idea is, there's no such thing as a new idea. So, you know, these developers, the people who create it, they don't create it because they want to get rich off of it. They create it because they wanted to fundamentally solve some type of problem in the world. And all of us, we know enough that, you know, we're not the smartest people in the world, and we want someone else to take that research or the study and continue to further it and come up with new advancements. So most things are open source. All right, so now also, a couple other things to understand is that Dynamo is a beta software, so it's actually constantly being developed. So if you go to the Dynamo, so this Dynamo BIM website, I'm gonna close the one that I tortured, and you scroll down, so you'll see, you can watch the video. We're not going to do that right now, but you can also download Dynamo, right? If I scroll all the way down, we'll hit the download button. There's two versions of Dynamo. You have Dynamo that plugs right into Revit, and then Dynamo Studio, which is a standalone software where you don't need to open Revit first to open Dynamo. You can just open Dynamo first and use it for whatever you want. Again, Dynamo is not specific to Revit. It's just lines of code. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but it's just lines of code. You can use it to pretty much execute any type of function you want. Now, what's also really cool is right below all this download stuff, inconspicuously, here's the daily build of Dynamo. So every time they work on this stuff, like I said on GitHub, they post the code to Dynamo here frequently. And every day they post a new build of Dynamo. So let's hit view all builds. And if I hit view all builds, here is all the versions of Dynamo since the day it was created. Okay, so you can pretty much find any build of Dynamo. So a lot of times, and the reason why I'm showing you this, and more so for the more experienced Dynamo folk, You ever run into a script that you've used 1,000 times, you open it, and then for some reason it's just not working, right? Like you follow the videos and the tutorials like to a T, and it's just not working for some reason. Well, that's pretty common because the builds change all the time, and sometimes if you updated it or have a new version of Dynamo installed, that same code that you use in version 1.0 may not work in 2.0. All right, and you just have to report the bug and report the issues, and sometimes they'll fix it, sometimes they don't. Also, when you post issues to the repository, it's pretty important to let them know what version you're having the issue on, because sometimes your issue might be literally version related, and this stuff is important to know because you'll get really frustrated developing software or developing a program or a script and not know what to do. All right, so let's get back into the presentation. All right, so like I said, so on GitHub you can you can get access to any of the code, and you can also post issues here. And just to help you guys understand what Dynamo is, right? I just want to do a quick walkthrough of the interface, and then just sort of point out some things that you might miss as you go through the program. So let's hop back into Dynamo, and I'm going to start super basic. All right, so I'm not going to save this. I'll get rid of it. Actually, maybe I will save it. All right, and let's save this in training. Dynamo 101. All right, test script or script line. All right, and we'll close that. So this closes all together. All right, so anytime you open Revit and you come in here, if you're using a previous version of Revit, so anything, I want to say past 2017, Dynamo was located in the add-ins tab. So it used to be located in the add-ins tab, and you have to grab it from here. But now Dynamo is sort of pretty integrated, and if you go to the Manage tab of Dynamo, you'll see two things. You'll see Dynamo, and then you'll see Dynamo Player. Dynamo Player is pretty awesome because if there's pretty common scripts that you want to run all the time, you can add them to a player, which I'm just going to launch this in a bit. So let's say that line script, if it was fully fleshed out and I just want a script that will just create some lines for me, I can hit the play button. So some of these are sort of default scripts that are here, and they're very simple. I think the one that I like to steal all the time is the update sheet names to uppercase. So if you hit the play button, all your sheets will now be uppercase. All right. So that's pretty simple. Now let's hit the Dynamo button, and it'll open Dynamo. Now usually if it's your first time hopping into Dynamo, it'll ask you what version you want to open. So it's very possible to have many different versions open at once. You have a couple options here. I'm going to talk about nodes in a minute, so I won't get into that. But here's that script that I just created. All of the websites that I just went to, you don't have to remember them. Actually, if you just open Dynamo and hit discussion forum, it's going to lead you right to the page where you can post an issue. And also to the Dynamo website. So this stuff is pretty awesome. Now, for references, in terms of getting started, Dynamo primer, video tutorials, I sort of have just a quick, I always like to say in my trainings that, because I don't work for Autodesk or I'm not a reseller, I can, be very direct and truthful about, what we're dealing with here. But the video tutorials that you'll go to here to Dynamo, they're pretty complicated, and you may not 100% get it right off the bat. Okay. Actually, some of the best places to look up Dynamo scripts and tutorials is just go to YouTube. Okay. Actually, there's another Dynamo 101 course. I forget the name of it, of the website, but there's a really famous programmer, or I don't know if he's famous, but he's pretty big out there. But his name is Conrad Shaban. He's made a lot of nodes. He's made a lot of stuff, and he has a great Dynamo 101 course. So if you just Google Conrad and look up Dynamo 101, you'll probably find a great Dynamo 101, and he is incredible. All right, so we like to keep things pretty basic. Here we go. All right, here we go. So check out the video tutorials. They're sometimes can be really complicated, but also check YouTube. Now, like I said, the repository, the GitHub repository is also here. You can access this from here as well. And then also down at the bottom here, Dynamo is going to give you a couple sample scripts. Okay, so there's quite a bit here. And if you want to just get into Dynamo, one of the best things to do, so I'll open one of these. So we'll go, let's go more complicated. I saw something that said Python. I can't find it now. I can't find it. All right, so let's just do geometry points, since that's what we're just doing. All right, so everyone has a different style of learning, right? So some people's style of learning is they have to kind of be walked through things step by step. Some people, you could just give them a pile of stuff, and some people are great at just breaking it down. Everyone has a different style of learning, so I highly recommend figure out what your style of learning is first, and then hop into the program. So, but what I like about the samples is they're really neat. They give you directions on what each of the nodes do, and you can kind of test this out to see how it's actually working. Okay, so I like to sometimes when I just want to figure out some basic logic for a script that I want to write, I'll either look at an example or I'll go to Google and see if someone has already created that script. 9 times out of 10, the script that you're thinking of or the script that you want to create has already been created. So just Google it. And a lot of times you can Google, find a script. It's not going to work right off the bat. That's a guarantee. But if you start to break down this script and understand how it works and recreate it on your own, then you'll start to educate yourself and come up with a pretty working solution. Okay? And for the most part, that's how I figured this stuff out. So, so we'll close that tab.